picking up on where we left off, was point number 10 of, again, this is our fourth part of our 4-part series, the future-proof skills that you need. Number 10, personalized care. No matter how much technology we continue to get access to, some people would prefer, we talked about this earlier in the series, some people would prefer to talk to an actual human being when they want some help, and this is not going away. Whether it be calling the customer service line to get a refund or an update on the tracking of an order, whether it be going to a food place of a food business and wanting to order something to eat. You don't want to tap your order in on the screen. You want to actually talk to a human being and tell them exactly what you want and how you want it, because the screen may not offer it. For example, I don't usually use like Uber Eats or DoorDash apps like that often, but sometimes when I do, I noticed that you can't customize your orders at every place the same way. So if I don't want sauce on my burger, there are some places in the Uber Eats app that you can't tell them that you don't want sauce. You have to pick one. And if you don't want the sauce, you're supposed to call the store after that and say, I don't want sauce on this order. And then sometimes they're kind of jerks about it. And it's like, if I could just have personalized care and have talked to a human in the first damn place, then we wouldn't even have this problem. So some people would prefer to talk to an actual human being. This is not going away. People want to deal with people. And again, I talked about this earlier in the series. There are times when I'm okay dealing with just technology. If I go to Amazon, I need to let them know, hey, this order of $10 hand cream that didn't come in and it's supposed to be here 3 days ago, it hasn't come in yet. They'll just send me a replacement, no questions asked, and I don't have to do a whole bunch of back and forth with a human. I'm good with that and having it taken care of that way. But if I have a more complex issue, I just want to talk to a human and I don't want to have to go through the technology at all in order to get to the human being. At my local Whole Foods market, for example, they have replaced a lot of the human checkout lines with the self-checkout. And personally, I actually like using self-checkout because I value the time more than I value the human connection. And I can check myself out faster than if I was to stand in line, wait for each person to get served by the person working the register, and then let them do it. They tend to not be as fast as I would be. But there are people out there who are not like me, who would still prefer to say hello to a register clerk and have someone else scan and bag all of their groceries for them. Personally, I'd rather go with the speed and just get out of there as quickly as possible. So I'd rather scan my own stuff because I'm quicker at it. Now, there are people and for another example, who that when they're sick, they would rather just type all their symptoms into some website and be told what's wrong with them and what to do about it from the comfort of their own home. And I believe this is coming. I believe it's coming where people will be able to type in their symptoms, whatever they may be, and get told that this is the prescription drug that you need to get. They can click some buttons and actually get the prescription for themselves, and then have that prescription filled to where it comes to their house. They never even have to leave the house. They get a diagnosis, a prescription, and the drug all in one. Now that is a whole lot of red tape that may go into that, because people getting themselves prescribed on drugs that might not be the right drug for the right situation, they would have to work around that. But I think there are smart people out there who are going to figure this out. I do believe that that's coming. I say within the next, let's say 10 years. That's ambitious, I would think. But I say in the next 10 years, that's going to happen. That you can just type in what your symptoms are, and there's somehow, some way going to be a way to verify it. You will get a prescription that is specifically for you. You can then get the prescription filled and get the drug sent to your house. You never had to actually go to the pharmacy, and it's going to be right there at your doorstep. I do believe that's going to happen. Now, I personally am not going to be a person partaking in that unless I'm selling the drugs, but I ain't taking no prescription drugs, nor am I getting a prescription. And I'm not doing any of that shit myself. But will people be able to do that? Absolutely. So you won't have to go to the doctor. You don't have to take the little prescription to the pharmacy. You don't have to go and pick it up. You don't have to do any of that. It's all going to happen from the comfort of your own home. I do believe that's happening within the next 10 years. And this is where technology is going. However, there are people who, when they're sick, they don't want to talk to a fucking computer. They want to talk to a damn doctor. They want to talk to a nurse. And they want to actually speak to you, and they want to look at you and look you in your face and have you look at them and actually have a real, live, in-person human conversation with them. These people will still exist, and there will be enough of them that this is still an in-demand position. So you want to have this ability. There are people who will prefer to say hello to a person, again, and deal with the doctor. And I know people who go straight to the doctor when they have a sickness that lasts a long time. They want to be assessed by a human who can tell them maybe the same thing the computer would say, but they'd rather have a human say it. Does that matter? Yes. Why? Because people are willing to pay for it. And that's why it matters. If you can make yourself that person for any specific situation, through which people would seek personalized care and attention, you are future proofing yourself. Does this make sense here? There are some people who are fine with when they go to the gym, they can just pull up an app that they signed up for, some fitness person, and the fitness person just takes them through the workout. All you have to do is prop your phone up against the wall and just follow the workout and just do everything that the person on the app says, and that's your workout, and you're good with that. There are people who are completely satisfied doing their workouts that way, whether they do it at the gym or they do it at home. There are other people, on the other hand, who want to have a trainer, an actual human, who is physically in the same space as them, telling them what to do and walking them through the workout. Or one of our members of our university, he does virtual training. So he will get on a Zoom call when the person goes to work out. So instead of it just being an app and doing a workout and say, hey, do 30 reps of this, he actually gets on a Zoom call and watches them do the workout and talks them through the entire workout, and people are going to pay for that. So there are people who want this personalized attention and this personalized care. And if you can make yourself the person who can offer it, then this still has value and it will always have value. So you want to make yourself that person for any specific situation where people want personalized attention. They are not satisfied with dealing with some computer screen. There's value. Point number 11. Today we are on we're on part number 4 of our 4-part series, the future-proof skills that you need. Number 11, relationship building. Relationship building simply means who knows you and who do you know. Simple as that. Who knows you and who do you know? The better you are at building, nurturing, maintaining, and expanding relationships with others, the more valuable you will be into the future, as the survival of humanity is and will always be dependent on relationships and interconnectedness amongst humans. And when I say building relationships, I don't even necessarily mean with a certain type of person, just relationships, period. The more people who know you and have a favorable opinion of you, the better you are in life, the better off you will be in life. Now, some of those people who you know and who have a favorable opinion of you may not be able to provide much value to you. Maybe not now, maybe not ever. Like, not everybody always advances and gets better at the same pace or advances and gets better at all. But if a bunch of people just know you and have a favorable opinion of you, there's no negative side to that. There's no downside to it. The only downside might be you have a lot of people who want your time and attention, and you're going to have to develop some guardrails to keep those people out of your space so you can focus on doing what you need to do. But there's no downside to having positive relations with more people. Now, you want to have some positive relations with some people who can actually help you in some way, and you can help them in some way. But even the people who you can't really help and they can't do anything for you, it doesn't hurt you to have that relationship, as long as you don't allow it to receive more resources than it deserves. We talked about that in episode 1058. You got your 2-minute people, your 2-hour people, and your 2-day people. So you just got to put people in the right box. And they're going to put you in a box too, if they understand this concept. So this ability to maintain relationships is important and essential to being a human being, because humanity is all about relationships. It's all about connections. You think about life in general. It's not about money. It's not about how hard you work. It's not about your accomplishments. It's about your relationships. Because when your life is over, all of those things don't really matter anymore. What matters is who's around you when you're in your deathbed, when it's almost over. So what positive relationships do you have? Are you good at winning friends and influencing people? Do you just have this ability to make new friends and get people to remember you, know you, recognize you, and see the value that you can bring to their lives or their situations? Do you stay in touch with the people who you already know? How many of you have some people who you do know, but you haven't talked to them in a while because you have not made the effort to stay in touch? And can you do something about that? Maybe today. Do people look forward to seeing you, hearing from you, and you being in the room? All right. When you call somebody that you know, do they call you back? Or do they answer the phone? Are they interested in that conversation? Now, you don't know what's going on in their head, but do they get back in touch with you when you reach out to someone who you would like to reach out to? Or do people look forward to hearing from you? Again, when you walk into a room, does the value of that room go up or does it go down? Remember, ladies and gentlemen, there's no neutral in the universe. You're either getting better or worse. You're either building or destroying. So what is your net effect on any environment that you step into? You should know. You should be thinking about this. You should figure out what it is. And you can tell usually by the way people respond to you in whatever environment that you're in. So you want to get really good at these things, because in the professional world, more than anywhere, the right relationships can do more for you than all the skill and performance ability and hard work in the world can do for you. In the business world, it is just as much about who you know and who knows you as it is about what you know and what you can do. If you're really good at what you do and you know a whole lot of stuff, but nobody knows who you are, the result is usually some form of frustration, because you know that you have ability, or at least you believe you have this ability, but you don't have the ability to use it and share it in a way that you really want to share it. If you know the right people and the right people know you and you are not even that skilled, you will get opportunity that your skill says you probably shouldn't get. Is this fair? No. But is this how it works? Yes. So this is why relationships are so valuable and connectivity is so valuable, and connecting with the right people and being around the right people matters so much. So the better you get at this, always keep this skill, because again, AI and computers won't be able to replicate this. Some people want to just deal with an actual person, a real life human, not a computer, not a chat bot, and they don't want to type into a screen. They want to talk to an actual person. You can be that person. Point number 12. Today's topic, once again, is part 4 of our ongoing 4-part mini series of the future-proof skills that you need. Number 12 is persuasion. Anytime you want to influence people to certain behaviors, you are persuading them. Either you do so successfully or you do so unsuccessfully. All right. Okay. Successfully or unsuccessfully. And your ability to persuade is a sub-skill of communication. You want to get good at moving others to action, and you will always have opportunity for yourself. Robert Cialdini wrote a book called Influence, which is a form of persuading. When you can influence people, you can persuade them to different actions, persuade them to different thoughts. You can persuade them out of actions and out of certain thoughts. The better you are persuading, the better you will be at selling, better you'll be at getting people to do your bidding, better you'll be at getting people to agree with you, to see things the way that you see them, or at least start to come around towards wherever you happen to be. Even if they don't get all the way there, you can at least start moving the needle and needling them in the right direction when you have this ability to persuade. Persuasion is all about moving other people to think, act, speak in ways that you want them to think, act, or speak, or not think, act, or speak. So this persuasion skill is a huge subset under the concept of selling. Or you could kind of mix those around. You could say selling is a huge sub skill under the skill of persuasion. But selling is how the world goes around. All right, selling is the oldest profession in mankind. It is also the highest paying profession in the world. The highest paid people in the world are all great salespeople. They may not call themselves salespeople, and you may believe that you know them for something other than selling. So you may think you know Bill Gates for being the guy who created computers, but creating a computer alone, or let's say, what's the word? Let's just say creating a computer. I don't know if he actually created the concept of a computer, but popularizing the PC, the personal computer, as Bill Gates did. What made Bill Gates was not that he had this great idea, because many people have great ideas whose names we don't know, is the fact that he was able to sell the idea. That's what made him so known. What makes Jeff Bezos so known is not that he had this concept of Amazon, is that he was able to sell the concept of Amazon and continue to build it to make it into what it's become. These days, Elon Musk, very popular entrepreneur and businessman. What makes him as significant as he is the fact that he has the money that he has. If he was making $50,000 a year with the same ideas, he would not be nearly as significant. So what makes him significant is having the money. And where does the money come from? His ability to sell. Money comes from his ability to sell and put things in place that allow things to sell, such as his cars, such as his spaceships, and whatever other projects he has going on. This is all based on his ability to persuade, his ability to sell. And all selling is getting other people to see the same benefits of your offering the same way that you see the benefits of your offering. So if I'm selling you a car and I believe this is the best car that you can possibly buy, if I can persuade you to see things the same way, then you will buy the car. And when you buy the car, what do I get? I get money. You get the car. Everybody wins. So this ability to persuade will always be valuable in humankind, and it will never go away as a valuable thing. It may change forms, but it never disappears. Point number 13. This is the last one. Today's topic is part 4 of our ongoing 4-part series, the future-proof skills you need. The skill of storytelling. This is part 13. Point 13. Skill of storytelling. There's another sub-point of communication, and is your ability to share a narrative with other people. That's all storytelling is. Your ability to share a narrative with others. I just gave a keynote speech just yesterday at a sales conference. And one of the things that I do when I put my speeches together, and I tell people this all the time when they ask me about putting speeches together, is I build my points, any speech that I give, off of a story that I want to tell. Because the story, it does several things. First of all, the story helps frame the point that I'm going to share. Secondly, a story is much easier to retain and follow and absorb for the audience than if I was to just give them a whole bunch of information. Even if my information is amazing, it's very hard to retain that much information. It's hard to retain, let's say, an hour's worth of information if I was to give a speech for an hour. But you can retain a few stories from an hour's worth of conversation. When I tell you a story, it's like a conversation between me and you, even though I'm doing all the talking, because I'm just telling you how things went and you can follow it. And again, it's much easier to remember a story. It's very hard to remember information. If you want to know how, give yourself the following test. Ask yourself something specifically, information-wise, that you learned in the 11th grade, and you'll probably struggle to figure anything out, specifically the 11th grade, not just in school period. And then ask yourself something that happened story-wise when you were in the 11th grade. You could probably come up with something much more quickly and explain it in much more vivid detail than you can explain the information that you learned in the 11th grade. Why is this? Because the human animal is wired to retain story. We are wired to follow and retain narrative. So whenever I give speeches, I build them based on the stories that I want to tell. So I figure out what's the point that I want people to get. Let's say if I want to teach you something about discipline, and the point that I want to give you is my whole concept called the third day. I have a whole book on it. You can get it at thirddaybook.com. Spell the word out. And what story do I want to tell about that? Well, I'll come up with a story around the third day. I'll craft a story or come up with one that I already know about, that I've already experienced or heard, that illustrates the point of the third day. I'll tell the story first, so now everyone gets to kind of where I'm going. Then I'll explain to them, well, what I just explained to you is what I call the third day. Then I go and explain the third day. It's much easier for people to absorb information when they get the story first. Why? Because the story allows them to make a connection to something that maybe they otherwise had not thought of. You don't want to just give them a bunch of abstract info, because a lot of that is not, again, won't be absorbed, let alone will it be retained. Human beings are wired for story. Okay, we are not wired for information. Even though everybody claims they want and need information, we tend to forget all the information that we do eventually obtain. And we even ignore information even after we have it. But a good story makes more sales, it moves more people to action, and it does this stronger and more consistently than all the information in the world. So you need to get really good at telling stories. Make sure you have some good ones for any point that you want to get across to other people, a story. It's easier for someone to get a point if you tell it through a story than if you just give them information. And remember that history is literally called history, his story. History is shared through story. It is not shared through information. You want to get a historical point across to someone, tell them the story, do not give them the information, because they're not going to remember the information. But if you tell someone a good story, they remember that. So if you want to be remembered yourself, here's what you do. You better attach a very good story to your existence. You personally want to be remembered, attach a really good story to your existence. And if you think of any person who is well known, even long after they stopped doing the thing that they got known for, if you were to just tell the story without mentioning the person, most people would be able to identify who the person is. Give you an example. So there's a guy in the 1970s, he started a computer company out of his garage with two of his friends. And the company started to take off and it started to do well. His goal was to put a computer into the homes of every person in the country. And eventually, after several years running his company, he eventually got kicked out of his own company in the mid-'80s. He wandered around the business world, started a couple other projects. Then in the late 90s, the same company that he had started, that had kicked him out, asked him to come back to save the company from insolvency because they were about to go out of business. He came back. He was able to save the company. The first thing he did, most famously, was he cut a whole bunch of the product line down to only a handful of products that the company focused on. Then this guy went on to create this revolutionary new product where he took all this music and he put it into this little device that you could fit in your pocket, a couple thousand songs in your pocket. Then he went and made another device where he combined the music player with a web browser, with a phone, and this device became so ubiquitous that everyone in the world has one these days. Then he created a little tablet. It was like a little TV, but you could hold it in your hand and put it on your desk. And these days, that company is $1 billion company and is one of the most well-recognized brands in the world. And they only sell really like 5 products: a phone, a tablet, a computer, a watch, and actually pretty much 4 products. That's pretty much all they sell. Well, 2 kind of computers: a desktop computer, a laptop computer, a tablet, a phone, and a watch. That's pretty much the main products that they sell. Now, I didn't say the guy's name. Who am I talking about? You see that? The guy is Steve Jobs, by the way, if you didn't catch that. All right, I just told you the story. I didn't tell you I gave you information, but it was really a story. See, the story can contain the information. That's the other thing. Let me give you another example. So there was this guy. He grew up the son of a a real estate broker in New York, a guy who was a real estate guy in New York. And his dad left him a little bit to get started within real estate, and he went and built on it really big. And he built everything around branding his name. He put his name on everything. Every building in the world that he built, his name is on it in some way, usually very prominently, to where everybody knows this guy's name. He was well known to be a business / real estate mogul for many years in the 80s, going into the 90s, even the early 2000s. And in the 2000s, he decided that he was going to start having opinions on politics. And this is where the public, who generally looked at him as a good guy, good business guy, they started to be divided on him, because some people agree with his political views, some people disagree with his political views, but he was just a business guy talking about politics. And then he threw the idea out there that he might actually get involved in politics, and people thought there's no way this guy can get in politics, there's no way that he can win. He actually did enter the political race, and in 2016, he surprised and shocked the entire world by actually winning the presidential election. Then in 2020, he lost the presidential election under some fishy, questionable circumstances. Then in 2024, he ran for president again, and he won again, capping one of the greatest stories and the greatest comebacks in the history of American politics. And as of this recording, he's on his way to starting his second term as president of the United States. Who am I talking about? Now, again, I did not say his name. But if you attach a good story to your name, then everybody will remember you. All right, I didn't have to tell you the name of the second person is Donald Trump. And when you tell a good story around something, then people will remember it, and everyone will recognize it as soon as you start telling the story. So the question is, what's your story? You need to have one. If you don't have one, you need to get one. All that said, folks, let's recap. This is the last part of our 4-part mini-series, future-proof skills that you need. Number 10, personalized care. No matter what technology comes along, some people just want to deal with a human being. We don't want to talk to a computer and touch a screen. We want to talk to an actual human. This will still be in demand by enough people for long enough while you're alive for it to matter for you. Now, your great grandkids, maybe not so much, but for you, yes. Number 11, relationship building. Who do you know and who knows you? All right, the value of a relationship is that you can get more done through the right relationships than you can ever get done through the right hard work, effort, and knowledge. Use relationships. Have as many of them in a positive state as possible. Number 12, persuasion. Anytime you want to influence people, anytime you want to sell something, anytime you want to win friends, anytime you want to move someone to action, you need the ability to persuade and move someone to do something or not do something on your behalf. This is a skill. Persuasion is a human soft skill that is always in demand. And number 13, storytelling. Another sub-point of communication. This is your ability to share narratives with other people. And remember that human beings are wired to retain and absorb story. We are not wired to retain and absorb information. Again, think of all the information you've absorbed in your life. Most of it you forgot. You can't think of it because you forgot it. But think of the stories you absorbed in your life. You probably have a lot of those that you can remember if someone just asked you the right question. This is why the story matters more than the information. And if you want yourself to be remembered, guess what you need? A really good story around your name. All that said, folks, make sure you go to workonyourgameuniversity.com so you can start building your story with my direct help. Start building your business, put a story around it so people retain, remember you, and they get connected to you. If you want to really have people connected to you and stick with you, it's a good story that does that, not good information, not answers to all their questions, the right story. All that happens at workonyourgameuniversity.com with me as your direct coach. Work on your game. Dre, all